Right. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 78 of Faith Fitness Joy. If you are tired of starting over and over with your weight loss or health routine goals, and you're ready to implement and sustain lasting change this year, then you are going to love today's episode of Faith Fitness Joy because I have all these tips and tricks to help you be successful with that. And that's exactly what I'm going to be helping you with today. So I'm laying out 7 tips that will help you start on a solid and lasting foundation, as well as help you finally implement and sustain a healthier lifestyle. No more fad diets, no more starting and stopping. I know how overwhelming and frustrating it can be to make lasting changes in your daily routine, especially those related to exercise and nutrition. I also know how hard it can be to sustain these changes long term. And so that's why I put together these 7 tips for you that I'm going to walk you through today in today's episode. And so these 7 tips are: 1, determine your why. Why are you embarking on this journey? 2, set clear, specific goals. 3, shift your mindset. 4, detach yourself from timelines and expectations. 5, commit. 6, plan. And 7, prepare. Now, I have battled my weight most of my life, as many of you may know from listening to this podcast for any amount of time. And this was, after 4 pregnancies, 3 cesareans, and crossing into my mid to late 30s when I first started on my sort of recent or more current journey. And at that time, I just found it, nearly impossible to lose weight. I had tried everything you can name: low carb, low calorie, extreme exercise programs, etc. And as I approached my mid to late 30s, I had 4 pregnancies, I'd had 3 children, and they were all under the age of 7. And I was battling depression. I was overworked. I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted, unhappy, and I had completely lost my sense of self, who I was, my identity, and this all between working full time and raising 3 children as a single parent. And I was probably at my worst, and I knew I had to do something to better myself for my children. Now, my focus had always been a certain number on the scale and a certain size, and this sort of, unrealistic image that I had always had in my mind from a very young age. And I thought that if I could just accomplish those goals, everything else would fall in place. However, I learned that there's a whole lot more to all of this than just, hitting some ideal goal. And if you think about it, we have, our physical body, we have our mental health, our mind, and then we have also the spiritual aspect of ourselves. But I was always so fixated on just my weight and that number on the scale, and it dictated so much about how I felt. So over time, I realized that even when I got to a certain number on the scale, I still wasn't really happy. And that's when I realized that my focus was way too narrow. And I started looking at things like my mindset and how I was talking to myself. And that really shifted the focus for me at that point in time. And eventually I started really looking at how I could clean that up, how I could sort of change my mindset. Some of that was even just like really paying attention to how I was talking to myself. And the bottom line was it had to be bigger than just losing weight or reaching a certain number on the scale or a certain size. And when I shifted my focus to more about, feeling better and looking better and being better, that's really when the game started to change for me. So I've taken all of that and I've really honed in on the aspects that were really helpful for me with implementing and sustaining at least the exercise and nutrition parts of this in particular. So let's get into the 7 tips and kind of what those are and how you can get started with not just implementing, but sustaining healthy lifestyle changes in this year ahead. So the first thing you need to do, the most important in my opinion, is to determine why you are embarking on this journey. Your why is like your compass or your guiding light. Without it, you're going to get lost and you're going to lose momentum pretty quickly. This also really helps you to connect on a deeper level with this whole change process, because that's really what this is. Determining your why is, fairly straightforward, in the sense that it's really just simply answering this one question. Why do you want to lose weight and transform your body? Now, be honest with yourself about this and go deeper than a certain number on the scale, or, sort of the physical outcomes or the aesthetics of this. Do you want to feel better? Do you want more energy? Do you want to be a better mom, wife, partner? Like, these are just some examples. Another way to approach this is to start asking yourself how your weight is affecting you and what you're ready to change. So I'll give you some examples from when I did this for myself. I was fed up with crying every day and every morning when I got ready for work, because I hated how much everything looked on me in terms of clothes. I was tired of being tired. I was sick of trying to hide in clothes and hiding in pictures and even kind of hiding from life, because I just didn't like the way I looked. I was so over avoiding social settings and interactions because I had such a negative body image and I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin. And most of all, I knew I wasn't at my best, and I wanted to be a better version of myself for my children. You may have, you may have all sorts of other like stories or things that you're fed up with or things that you're ready to change for you. So those are just some examples from what kinds of things I was looking at when I was developing my own why. The point is, it's essential for your long-term success to have a strong motivation beyond just hitting a certain weight. This is your carrot through this whole journey. This is what you will come back to over and over as you do this. And a little hint for you, a spot on fire in the belly why will make you emotional thinking about it and writing about it. You want to find that feeling driving you towards doing this, as well as the sort of reciprocal feeling of how it's going to feel when you get there, when you accomplish this. The second tip I have for you is to set clear, specific goals. Now that you've gotten clear on why you're embarking on this lifestyle change, it's really a good time to set clear, specific goals for yourself as well. If the why is the compass or the guiding light, then your goals are your destination. Most of the time, people aren't really that great about setting goals. I often hear things that are kind of like vague, right? Like, I want to lose some weight, or I want to get past that first week. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with these. It's just that they lack specificity and sort of that like long-term vision that's really going to help you keep going. It's important to keep in mind as well that this is all this is 100% in the mind. Yes, nutrition and exercise are obviously very important too, but if the mind is not on your side, you are setting yourself up for an even steeper uphill climb. So one of the best ways to get your mind working for you in all of this is to get really clear and set really clear specific goals for yourself. And then you want to program these into your brain. So you do this by setting clear, specific goals and then reading them and stating them out loud to yourself daily as often as possible. This is going to set your subconscious on a mission to make your goals a reality. So in addition to that clarity and specificity, you want to start your goals as follows. I am so happy and thankful now that, again, this sets your subconscious mind on a mission, and it reframes these goals into like already done. This is already like the reality for me, as opposed to some, distant future far, far away, that's, seemingly unattainable. I would also suggest creating two goals, right? So you want to have your first being like your long-term goal, that's like where your ultimate destination is, and then you want to have sort of the shorter term goal. So if you have a long-term goal, for example, of losing 50 pounds or achieving 20% body fat, then your shorter term goals would look like maybe I want to lose 10 pounds in a month, or I want to lose 20 pounds in the first 3 months, or something like that. So that's kind of an example of how to set the goals. But the important thing is to make them really clear and specific and word them with that I'm so happy and thankful now that at the beginning, and repeating these often throughout the day. Because again, it's like all about reprogramming the mind. When your subconscious is hearing you say this all day, every day, it's going to like start to set out on making it true for you. And that's gonna turn into things like you're suddenly gonna, you'll find more motivation, or it'll be a little bit easier for you to eat differently and things like that. Like your brain is gonna start helping you when you do this. Okay, so the third tip is to shift your mindset. So a couple things here. This is really about reframing what you're actually doing, right? So too often people are looking for this quick fix or sort of this short-sighted solution or result, right? Especially when it comes to weight loss and fitness. And this is partly due to all these different fads out there where, they're promising these miraculous weight loss results in 30 days or 6 weeks or whatever. But if you want to succeed, you have to throw this line of thinking out the window. It is not serving you. You have to recognize that this is a lifestyle. Okay. It's a marathon. It's not a race. You are going to be doing this for the rest of your life. So even when you reach your target of X pounds lost, it's not going to last very long if you just stop at that point and go back to whatever you were doing. It's not like it's going to magically stay that way. You have to maintain this. It's a sustained effort that you continue throughout your life. And so you want to like reframe it that way ahead of time so that you're kind of mentally prepared for that going into it. So the fourth tip is to detach yourself from any timelines and expectations. This is very much tied to the previous tip, and it's another sort of paradigm that isn't really doing you any favors. There are no quick fixes, and everyone will arrive at their goal in different time frames because every body is different. The fitness industry, will tell you all kinds of things and do almost anything to sell you their program or their pills or whatever. And that's going to include promising you these, pretty much impossible results in even more impossible time frames. And then they're going to have these, overarching statements as if it's going to apply to everybody the same way when it's just not possible. There's too many factors to take into account, and there's way too many variations from person to person to be able to make any of these types of declarations or guarantees of specific results in specific timeframes. So I imagine many of you have heard many of these claims over and over. Now, I've learned that these kinds of one-size-fits-all approaches fit and work for almost nobody. Let go of the crazy goals in the crazier timeframes. Do not expect to lose 35 pounds in 21 days. Shift your focus to things like looking better, feeling better, fitting your clothes better, changing your body composition instead of, this, like, it has to be this number of pounds, it has to be this physique type or whatever. Like, really try to like shift that focus to feeling better, looking better, yes, but, increasing your energy, getting, to where your clothes are fitting you better, improving your health. So now when you reflect back on your why, I'm going to take a wild guess here that it's going to look a lot more aligned with this type of shift and focus as opposed to something like 35 pounds in 21 days. So again, the goal here is lasting change. It's a lifestyle that you maintain. Moreover, the goal is health, whole health. And yes, part of that is weight loss or fitness, but it's also much more than that. So I'm telling you, when I realized this, it changed the game for me completely. So the fifth tip is commitment. Make a commitment to yourself. You must commit to seeing this through for yourself. This is where your why, your reason for doing this is going to be essential. Your why is ultimately the driving force that got you to start, and you cannot fulfill this if you give up or quit. You are ultimately the only person that's going to be able to do this for yourself, right? Like, there's no magic pill, there's no quick fixes, and nobody else can do this for you. But the good news is there are sustainable, sane ways of creating a lasting, healthy lifestyle that you can actually enjoy and maintain. But again, nobody can do this for you. They can give you the tools, they can help guide you, but you have to show up and do the work. You're capable, you're worthy, and you can do this for yourself. You can fulfill all of these other roles in your life so much better when you prioritize your own well-being and make this commitment to yourself. And again, the only person who's going to see this through is you. So do this for yourself, make a commitment to yourself to follow through and do what you say you're going to do. And I promise you, you will feel better. It will boost your confidence and you will prove to yourself that you can follow through and accomplish goals that you set for yourself. And when you really establish this for yourself, it's gonna naturally start to become more automatic, and it's gonna start to feel easier to sustain it because you're gonna have so much more than weight loss if you follow kind of all these other things I'm talking about here. And that's gonna just like reinvigorate you as you go through this whole thing because it's there's so many more benefits to this than just looking great in a swimsuit. The sixth tip is to plan. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about all the different approaches out there in terms of nutrition or diet, if you will, and exercise. I've definitely covered a lot of that in previous episodes, and you can check those out if you want more details and if you're looking for, some more information about what, types of things are out there, or at least some of the ones I recommend. But the key here is to find the approach that you believe that you can stick with in the long run. If it sounds miserable to you, like if you look at a certain type of diet or a certain type of exercise plan and it just sounds like torture, then that's probably not going to work for you, right? Like, I mean, you can only sustain that for so long. You can only will yourself through something for so long. If it's something you absolutely hate, chances are you're not going to be able to stick to it long term. So explore the options out there, find the types of things that sound appealing, that sound like they're going to work for you, that sound like things you can see yourself maintaining for the long haul. And then once you've landed on what these are, make a plan for yourself. What time are you going to work out every day? How are you going to integrate that diet or that nutrition approach that you've chosen into your daily routine? Like your shopping and your family meal planning and all these kinds of things, right? And then the last tip is to prepare. So again, you want to set a really a future start date for yourself. I would not say to do it too far out in the future, maybe a couple weeks max. A couple weeks is usually pretty good. So give yourself about a 2-week window of time that you're gonna okay, this is the date that I'm gonna start, and then you gotta do what you need to do to be ready for that date. So that's, identifying the groceries you need to get so that you have all the types of foods and ingredients you need for how you're going to be eating. If you need to go get yourself set up with a gym membership if you don't have one, or whether you're setting up a little workout space at home for yourself, whatever you need to do, get some new workout clothes for yourself, get some new workout equipment. I mean, that's a really great motivating factor. You don't have to break the bank. There's lots of cute workout clothes out there. There's lots of great equipment you can find for yourself for home workouts that's not crazy expensive. And just these little couple things for yourself, they just help motivate you to get going. And it's fun to shop for stuff, right? So that's just a couple tips I found helpful. And then, set yourself up by preparing ahead of time. It makes a really big difference when you got this date. It's like, okay, this is when I'm going to start. And these are the things I need to do to get there. And part of that planning should be writing out your why, setting your goals and your long and short term goals, right? Like doing all these things ahead of time, which is why I wanted to do this episode today. December 18th instead of next week. So you can take this in and really use this to help set you up for the new year coming. I'm really not into the whole new year, new me thing or the New Year's resolutions. I don't know. It's not my jam, but it is the time of year that people are looking at these types of things and thinking about what they want to accomplish in the next year. So use this time to start to look at that for yourself and and take all of these tips and, put them to practice in this window of time before we enter the new year. So those are the 7 tips I have for you. That's what I've got for today's episode. I really hope that this has given you some great tools to help get you going. And if you want to kickstart your journey sooner than later, there is still time to get in on my free 30-day training program. I'm offering this through the whole month of December. It is a value of over $1,000 and it is totally free right now. So you will get done for you, ready to go workouts for every day for 30 days. And you can choose between home or gym workouts. You've got a nutrition plan all ready to go. So, your food list and the types of things to be eating and how to be eating. And you'll also get access to the group coaching calls that we've done already, as well as any that are still planned for the rest of the month. So get in on that if you want to get started ahead of the year and get yourself going. It's a great way to kickstart. It's a great way to really kind of establish those new habits, and it's free. So check out the link in the description if you want to get in on that. You can also find the link in my bio on my socials, either under Rochelle Renee on Facebook or Faith Fitness Joy on Facebook and Instagram. And all right, thank you so much for tuning in, and I wish all of you a very, very Merry Christmas.